Welcome back to an episode of We are going to talk to all of the NPCs in here that have a little bit of additional text to them. Starting with Ianna. Once we're down here, of course. Good old reloading, right? Like every time I zoom in here, the waterfall's just so damn loud, it's annoying. But yeah, you don't really see their faces anyway behind this
yes,
armor.
Corporal?
So everything is fine.
How can I help?
Yeah, about you being an assassin. There we go. Let's hope that this continues.
About you being an assassin. You said that you might be willing to tell me more about that at another time. How about now?
I'm still not certain. The question really is, do you want to know? It might change something.
Such as?
Such as?
Your perception of me. It is your choice.
I don't think so. Maybe we should leave it like that. Well, I wouldn't have asked otherwise.
Well, I wouldn't have asked otherwise. Tell me.
All right. Where should I begin? Do you remember what I told you about that man who bought me from the Greyfell Bazaar? My owner? I also told you that after an incident, he discovered my talents and made me an assassin.
Elaborate on that.
I remember. But what does that have to do with your morality?
It's complicated. The incident took place at a festivity. A lot of highly influential people were there, servants of the crown, wealthy merchants, nobles. My master knew all of Greyfell's elites. As always, at these festivities, it was my and the other slaves' responsibility to ensure the guests' well-being.
Oh.
It must have been close to midnight when a man took me into his chambers. I'd learned to play along years ago because resisting only made it worse. This time, however, was different. For some reason, that man wanted me to tell him that I loved him. I did, but he kept on telling me that I should say it like I really mean it. When I couldn't, he got angrier and angrier and started choking me. I had almost lost consciousness when I felt something break. I don't know how else to put it. It was as if my mind simply cracked open, like a crystal ball smashed against a mirror. And all of a sudden, that man and I weren't separate entities anymore.
I don't follow.
My magic, my dreamweavery, that's when it broke free.
Interesting.
You probably don't know this, but the only way to become a dreamweaver is by shattering your mind. You are opening yourself to the thoughts and emotions of others, but you lose your own.
Interesting. And all of it triggered by extreme emotionals. Very interesting. So Dreamweavers don't feel anything?
Wait, Dreamweavers don't feel and think?
No, we do. But it's differently than normal people. Me. The Ianna you're talking with is the result of long work and studying of human behavior.
So it's a robot.
I know how to blend in. To seem like I'm just like you. But the world inside my head is an entirely different one. Again, it is almost impossible to put into words if you're not a dreamweaver yourself.
What happened to the man?
I killed him. It wasn't a conscious choice. Looking back, I even think that shattering my mind was my body's way of ensuring survival. I closed my eyes, reached out for the man's mind, and just crushed it. The man gasped, lost balance, and fell right off the bed. He wasn't dead yet, but unable to move. Like a puppet rid of its strings.
Interesting.
At first I was disoriented. But then I felt it, for the first time. The urge.
Ooh. The urge that turns you into an assassin. Very interesting.
To kill him?
Yes. To massacre him. Hear his screams. To see his life taken by my hand. I grabbed a lantern that was standing on a bedside table and knelt over him, and... well, you can picture the rest.
A lantern? Ah, come on.
To get back to your original question, that urge, it stuck with me. I think that the moment when my mind shattered and I became a Dreamweaver was what unlocked it.
I don't think it unlocked it. It's more like just released all of the pent-up emotions. And that's basically it.
Ever since then, I've found violence and bloodshed to be ecstatic. Erotic, even. And when I kill someone, like I killed that man, I feel alive. Actually, it's one of the few times I am capable of feeling anything at all.
Huh. And this is why you became an assassin.
Interesting.
Yes. My master introduced me into the craft. Probably because he knew that my Dreamweavery had changed me. I wasn't just a slave child anymore. I was a weapon now. More than that, even. I needed what these new tasks my master sent me on provided me with. It had become a basic need of mine. Of course, I briefly considered changing my profession after my master had his accident. But I didn't. Killing is something I need, as much as a child needs the love of his mother. If I don't feed my urge, I will die. Not physically, but mentally. I just know this.
Is there no way to cure you? Well,
Is there no way to cure you? To return your mind to its original state?
or at least to not get the urge.
No, there isn't.
That's just fairly basic. Don't you feel guilt?
What about your victims? Don't you ever feel guilt?
Once again, Tahar, I do not feel emotions the way you do. Of course I wonder if I made a mistake, but my reflections are purely based on theory. But then again, I don't accept just any contract. The way Leonidas described you, you were a monster in human disguise. And that's the first principle I try to live by. Criminals first. The second one is never kill a mother or a child, regardless of the pay.
So now you have principles. Very interesting. How noble.
What? No children? How noble.
There's no need for sarcasm. I know that my restrictions may seem ridiculous to you.
But what if you're wrong? If you kill an innocent?
That has happened before, and it will happen again. You see, I do not consider myself some kind of vigilante, some kind of judge. Ultimately, I know that I am what society would call a murderer, and that I do what I do for myself, above all else.
Definitely not what I was expecting.
Well, it was definitely not what I was expecting.
I can imagine.
That's a lot to take in.
That's a lot to take in.
I know. Now tell me, Tahar. Do you regret asking me this question? Knowing all this, do you think I'm a monster?
Kind of depends what a monster really is, right? In this case, she's just what she is. Why do you accept it? Oh, that's an interesting one.
I don't think you're a monster, no. But I can't understand how you can choose to give in.
As I said, it's a matter of survival. But I understand why you would feel this way. Anyway, I would like some time for myself now. I hope you understand.
Interesting. Alright, so let's talk to... Wait a minute. Undergast is all the way over there.
Will do.
Wait a minute.
Got it.
There we go. For someone who is supposed to be an extreme killer like Ianna, she definitely dies a bit too often.
Tahar, it is good to see that you have recovered. This place and these people lack guidance without you.
They did?
Yes, the Lord Marshal tried to assume control, but as you might have expected, he did not have everybody's support. I was even fearing an internal power struggle, and I'm glad it did not come to that. I must say, Tahar, your mother, she is remarkable. I have always wondered what the Shapers look like, and now I do. It is fascinating. Though I suppose this is a difficult topic for you. Forgive me if my words were inappropriate.
Yeah, with me to save. It's alright.
It's all right.
Good. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? Yes? What is it?
There we go. What exactly was your relationship with Lena?
So, Undergast, when you told me about your split with Lena, I got the feeling that you were more than just colleagues.
You are asking if we were in love. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, I guess.
Then let me start by telling you that the term love is undefined and that theories about it conflict one another. I have read a lot of books on it, and I've studied the poems, and I've come to the conclusion that it is ultimately a primitive, carnal urge that people have come to romanticize for the emotions that come with it. I, myself, never felt it, and maybe that was because I saw the underlying mechanisms. I always found it strange how people overreact so strongly to such a simple emotion, and maybe that very fact stopped me from being able to feel these emotions at all.
And what are the underlying mechanisms?
Well, what are the underlying mechanisms?
The desire to reproduce with a fitting mate. In fact, the orcs have a very dry, rational view on this process, but for some reason humans, dwarves, and elves do not.
Love is more than that. I actually agree.
True. I never understood why we idealized that either.
Once again, you surprise me, Tahar.
So, what you're saying is that you were never able to feel love, but then Lena came along and you did.
No, it was not that simple. What stood out in our relationship was that we connected. I've never felt that before. You see, Tahar, to me, the bonds people have always felt peculiar. And I am not like Ianna. Her mind simply does not have the ability to feel these bonds anymore. She had them once, but then she lost them, as she became a dreamweaver. My brain is capable of feeling these things, but I am unable to connect with the outside world. I only have my own mind as a frame of reference. For example, when a person tells you yes, whereas he or she means no, you might be able to feel this discrepancy because you're able to empathize with her. I can't. To me, this person's distress would make no sense whatsoever. But then there was Lena. For some bizarre reason, she understood me and I understood her. Or at least, I thought that I did. It was as if this barrier, this shell that separates my mind from others, was pervious to her emotions. I know how strange it sounds, and I also have no explanation for why this was, yet it changed me. All at once, I felt connected. Do you know this feeling, Tahar? You have traveled with these people for quite some time now. Is there anyone you were, well, fond of?
There are actually only two, right? There's not that much to select there.
Well, yes, there is.
I see. Then you probably know how distracting such a feeling can be. To be honest, when I first became aware of that bond between Lena and me, I was horrified. I could not focus anymore. When I sat down to write my studies, I realized after hours that none of what I had written made sense at all.
Interesting. So your inability to relate to others, is it innate?
Your inability to relate to others, is it innate?
Yes. If it were not, I might have considered my sudden connection to Lena as a symbol of overcoming. But it was not. Even though I felt connected to Lena, I was still unable to feel the same way towards others. This is what deeply confused me.
What did Lena make of your feeling?
What did Lena make of all that?
Nothing. Unlike me, she did not try to analyze, to understand its origin. At the same time, she did not discourage me from pondering. I believe this is what made our relationship unique. Complete acceptance. She did not try to tell me how I should behave or feel, and neither did I. Even when she decided to leave the guild and I decided to stay behind, we both accepted each other's decisions.
And I'm guessing your relationship ended with your disagreement?
Am I right to assume that your relationship ended with your disagreement over the Creators Guild abandoning its neutrality?
No, you misunderstand. We never had a relationship. Although the feelings were mutual and we, well, acted on them, we never felt the need to bind ourselves to some close-minded societal construct. But yes, you are correct. It was the disagreement that broke our bond. Quietly, she left and never returned again.
Do you feel betrayed? Well, the whole feeling
Do you
thing doesn't
feel,
work.
I don't know, betrayed?
Betrayed? No. By betrayal, people usually mean when someone behaves contrary to what they agree on, or more often than not, as they would like that person to behave. I always found the word to be very misleading. Desires, wishes, and urges are natural things, and I always found the usage of such heavily judgmental words to be very childish. Lena did what she thought was right, and so did I. I have not and will never blame her for that.
And you did not even argue?
What? So you didn't even argue? I have a hard time imagining that.
As I said, acceptance of one another's nature and decisions was a pivotal element in our interactions, though I did notice that my unwillingness to follow her on her mission caused her more emotional distress than she usually would have felt. You see, if there ever was a disharmony between us, it was when she tried to encourage me to embrace the world, as she put it. She told me that both I as a person and my studies would benefit from more first-hand experience.
Such as?
Well, anything. Traveling, studying the Tsarlanthep ruins first-handed, even visiting the city of Everlight every once in a while. She seemed to think that it could help me get a better understanding of the world. But again, she never tried to force me. I could tell that my unwillingness upset her, but, like always, she showed acceptance.
And you have no idea where she is now?
And you have no idea where she and the others are?
I don't. I have heard rumors that they were helping mages in Leonider, but that was moons ago.
Moons is like maybe 1 or 2 years. How do you feel about this now?
How do you feel about this?
That is a good question. I still think about her, almost every day. But the more time passes, the more this entire episode starts to feel like a vague, distant dream, the way an elder must feel about youth. I do not know how I would feel if I ever saw her again.
I can imagine. Well, thank you for trusting me with this, Undergast.
You have nothing to thank me for. If this conversation helped you get a better picture of me, I'm glad we had it. But there is one more thing I would like to ask you, Tahar.
Tell me.
Do you have regrets? Do you ever feel as if you could and should have acted differently than you did act?
Interesting. Didn't I answer a similar question beforehand? Everybody has regrets. Yes, no. I've lost count. No.
No.
Impressive. You see, I've never told you this, but I find your resilience to be remarkable.
How so?
Well, it is no secret that you have endured a lot of pain, especially your early childhood must have made a mark on your psyche. But still, you did not give up.
I'm doing what I can.
Well, I'm doing what I can.
I can see that. Either way, I think we have spent enough time talking. We should get back to the tasks at hand.
We should. So long, Undergast.
And thanks for all the fish. Now, let's go to Owen. Is there a quicker way towards him? One over here, one across the bridge, and... Okay. Where on earth am I? I went this way around. Alright. Very interesting. Very interesting. So, Rohen, what is your little story?
Understood.
So, I guess we have some talking to do, don't we?
You knew about my mother, didn't you? That's what you hinted at back at the forge, before we set out to the Eye.
Well, the answer is yes and no. I had suspicions, let us call it that. But they weren't enough to go on, and I had no idea your mother was connected to the Bloodburn.
Why did... Oh, well, you definitely should have told me. It would be an interesting one. You should have told me, like, those two options here are basically the same. Why didn't you tell me? And you should have told me, right? Like, this is a, you did something wrong and you should have done it another way. Whereas this one is just, give me some kind of explanation. This is not a very nice way of, like, this is a rude kind of option. We go for this one.
Why didn't you tell me?
That I believe you might be the result of your father's experiments? That you're the offspring of some long-dead, forgotten race? Tell me, Tahar, what for? I mean, at best, you wouldn't have believed me. And at worst, it would have cost you your sanity. So no, I don't think I should have told you. I didn't know if these suspicions had any substance at all. And I would have been at great risk, especially back then when you were still part of the rebellion.
And where did these suspicions come from?
Where did these suspicions come from? Did my father tell you?
No. And he never found out that I knew. Your father... I don't need to tell you how meticulous he was, do I? That's why he always kept notes of his experiments and studies. I found one, a notebook. The story's actually quite simple. Your father had gone out to meet with Aelot Iskander, and had tasked me with cleaning up his laboratory.
Really? He never let me into his laboratory.
And he did not delete the browser history.
I know. And he wasn't exactly trustworthy towards me, neither. But you know Isamo. His mood was never what you'd call stable. One day, he'd think the entire rebellion had schemed against him. The next day, he told us that we'd change the world. It was part of his charisma, I guess. Sometimes I think the reason why the Mage Rebellion became so big was less of Isamo's magical powers, rather than his ability to create emotions in his followers. But we digress. So I had found this small booklet on his table. It didn't look important in any way, yet I was immediately curious. I opened it and started reading.
What was in there?
His experiments in the eye. The ancient woman, as he called her. Your creation, these waxwork figures which he tried to infuse with life. It was disturbing. And at the same time, fascinating, as you can imagine.
And how did my mother conceive me, actually?
That book, did it say anything about how this ritual worked? Andrew said something about how the Shapers conceive differently.
I don't think it can be compared to how two humans reproduce, if that's what you're thinking. But as for the details, I don't know. As I said, I barely had 1 hour. And I only got to the chapter about you in the very end.
Do you still have that book?
Do you still have that book?
No, of course not. I couldn't even read through all of it, else your father would have noticed that I had done nothing of what he had tasked me with. And I have no idea where it is now.
I figured.
Okay, so why did you do it? Create me?
So, why did he, well, create me? My mother said it was to gain access to the Archfire.
Yes, I think that was the main reason. Though I couldn't help but notice a certain, I don't know, warmth in his words when he described his plans.
Now that changes well, it just sounds so bizarre.
It just all sounds so bizarre.
Yes, it does. Still, I don't think you were just a tool to him. You weren't.
Well, maybe at the beginning.
Tell me, Tahar, knowing all that, how does it make you feel?
Well, it doesn't make me feel any different, right? It just changes the past, but it does not change the now. Well, that tells me that my choice to betray him was the right one. Well, like, this one is just long-ass answer. I feel marvelous. Doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter is a bit too bland. How do you think I feel? Okay, let's go for this one.
I just found out that my mother is a Shaper corpse, and that my father created me as a tool to gain power. How do you think I feel?
You're right, I'm sorry. It was a stupid question to ask.
Nah, it's not.
Either way, I think we both need some time to think. As I said, Tahar, I'm sorry that I didn't tell you earlier, but I simply didn't know what to do.
Now he knows. So, and now we also know that he Rohen has this one unlocked. Regenerate focus when you kill an enemy. That is, and on top of all of that, it's a perk. That means it's permanently active all the time. Oh, I love perks. They're amazing. Because even if you change your loadout, like this one here, for example, like I switch between 1 and number 4 or something like that, you still have the perks active. The perks are the better version of implementing the skills, kind of. I should have just done with it. Like, they made a really good way of selecting abilities in the first installment, and then it got gradually worse and worse over time. It's just so strange.
Will do.
So let's go into the Nexus and talk to the remaining companions. Let's see what they have to say.
Got it.
Also, this is... No, I don't have all of the artifacts yet, so that's not going to work. Alrighty. Let's start with... How many more are there? Help Iskrim, yada yada yada. There's nothing about Iskrim actually. It's just anger, visit your mother's body in the Nexus. Yeah, this is also something I have to do. So, let's talk to Yria, then go to the mother, and then talk to anger in order to... No, also Gore. Where on earth is Gore? Oh, Gore is up here. Okay. So, anger is the yellow one. Alright.
Interesting.
Why is there a bed? Like, there are different kind of beds in here. Maybe this is the orcish bed, who knows? Maybe he likes to sleep on straw.
Ah, I was hoping you'd come by. That was quite the surprise visit, wasn't it? The Harbinger couldn't have picked a better time for his attack.
I guess you could say that. How's your injury? That blast from the barrier looked quite painful.
The blast? Oh yeah, sure. I'm as good as new. One of the perks of being a light mage. Tahar, I'm sorry. For everything.
What do you mean?
Well, what you discovered in that dungeon. I didn't see that coming, honestly. I mean, I'd always felt you were different, but an experiment of your father? I would have never guessed.
That sounds like some kind of chemical flask thingy. Not like a human.
And now that bastard Lacane took your mother. It's just... one tragedy follows another. Now I feel almost ridiculous thinking about my supposed problems.
Yeah, we can still save her.
We can still save her.
Yeah, I know. And we will.
Oh, do we now?
Oasis. How crazy does that all sound? A half-shaper whose mother's spirit has been stolen by a religious fanatic. If all this weren't actually happening, I'd think I'd be watching a bad play. Though you'd definitely be the tragic hero in this. And I don't envy you.
Okay, a bit of normality would be nice for a change. Fine, problems are always subjective. Well, yeah, they're always subjective.
Problems are always subjective.
I guess they are. Tell me, Tahar. If you had had the choice, would you have wanted to know? About your mother and how you were born?
Definitely. What about you? Would you want to know who your mother
Well,
is?
what about you? Your father also never told you who your mother was. Would you want to find out?
Good question. On the one hand, yes, I think I would. But then again, I never made any serious efforts to find out. I guess in the end it wouldn't have really mattered. She is dead, I know that much. And whether she was a priestess of the White Tree or a slum dweller, it wouldn't have changed the fact that she wasn't there when I grew up. But you're a different story. Your mother is still alive. And she's a shaper. I mean, doesn't that change everything? Would you really have wanted to know?
Yeah, it's always better to know the truth. Well, it's always better. Like, this is the thing. The real answer is, it kind of depends. But yeah.
Yes. It's always better to know the truth.
Is it? Sometimes I wonder if the truth doesn't just make it all worse.
Like, knowing the truth is one thing, but actually reacting to it is another.
Anyway, shaper or not, it's good to have you back. Honestly, there were times when I was worried you wouldn't ever wake up again.
I'm touched.
You better be. Anyway, in case you were wondering, I'm not planning to leave now. If you need my help, I'll be here.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, you don't need to stay, you know that, right?
We don't need to stay.
Actually, she
You know
needs
that,
to.
right? Our work with the Purity is over, and nothing's stopping you from going back on the road.
I need a good healer, and she is that.
Safer than mage murdering Lightbringers, right? Look, unless you want me to leave, I'll stay, and I'll fight. And no, I'm not trying to sound heroic. Apart from the fact that there's worse company than you, the dwarf, and the others we picked up along the way, I can't just stand by and watch while those bloody fanatics do their best to plunge this world into yet another war.
The dwarf. He doesn't even have a name, it's just the dwarf. Great. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Yria. I really appreciate it.
Great. And now that we've got that out of the way, you should get some more sleep. You still look like a walking corpse. Don't make a habit out of it.
We look like it from the beginning,
I'll talk to you
so
later.
nothing really changed. Talk to Yria in the... Wait, didn't I talk to her?
Corporal? Need anything?
There we go. Why did you leave
You
Finn
never
on me?
told me why you fled Finn and Mir.
Fair enough. You've given me little reason to distrust you, so... Oh well. Let's just get this over with. I already told you about my father. How to him I had always been more of an asset. Well, after my father died, I decided to become a novice.
A novice?
Someone aspiring to be a priest of Ellen. I don't know why I did it. It was something my father had always considered a backup plan if an arranged marriage wouldn't work out. Part of it was probably because obeying my father was all I knew at that time.
Okay, and what does a priest of Ellen
What
do?
does life as a priest of Ellen look like?
Boring. Though not as boring as a Northander monk's life. You are free to have family and to indulge in the earthly pleasures. Still, your life is devoted to worship. And for a priest of Ellen, that means healing the sick and preserving Ellen's greatest gift, nature.
Was it difficult to receive the novitate?
Was it difficult to receive the novitiate?
No, it's not a novitate, it's a novitiate. Okay.
Not for me. First of all, I was a good candidate. I was still very young, not even in my 30s. And I already knew a great deal about magic and healing. Secondly, I was, after all, a pure blood. That helped as well.
But something happened, I believe.
But something happened.
Yes. In my first year, I fell in love. That crazy, hot-blooded, head-over-the-heels kind of love that the bards all sing about. The boy felt the same way, and for the next year, it was, well, it was perfect.
Aww.
It was the two of us against the world. Maybe you know that feeling.
What was this name?
What was his name?
Johnson.
Doesn't matter.
Oh. And the priest didn't mind?
And the priests didn't mind?
Well, she just said that earthly pleasures are allowed, right?
Priestesses. Only women are allowed to teach. And no, they didn't. Elves consider love to be a blessing of Ellen.
Interesting. But what do the men do then?
Forbidding it would be near absurd. I have no clue where your monks got that idea from. Though, of course, that boy and I tried to, restrain ourselves when the situation demanded it.
Yeah, I guess your romance didn't end well.
And I guess your romance didn't end well.
Well, actually, it did end well, and then it just stopped.
You guess right. But it was more than that. You know, I told you how I always felt estranged around other people. I knew how to put on a smile, how to make myself fit in, but it was always fake. Shallow. With him, it was different. Dramatic as it may sound, I thought I had finally found someone who understood me. Then there was the novitiate. Despite all the time I sunk into doing the crazy things lovers often do, I never failed as a student. Or, no, let's put it another way. I was the best, in every aspect.
Which didn't sit well with some people.
No. And eventually, they made sure I felt it. They excluded me from everything, stared at me when I walked by. It hurt, yes, but I convinced myself it didn't. I've always been good at that.
Did it take a toll on your relationship with that boy?
More than that. My lover's friends started manipulating him. Telling him that I only saw him as my pet, that he was a failure, and that I only kept him around to feel good about myself.
Yeah, he should have been above that. Well, that's definitely toxic.
That's toxic.
It was. And their seeds met fertile ground. You see, we novices all knew that only 4 out of 20 will be granted priesthood at the end of our training. And being a failed novice leaves you with a mark you'll keep for the rest of your life. It all looked peaceful on the surface, but beneath that it was an arena. And these other novices, they made sure my friend became aware of that fact. To him, I started being a rival as well.
Interesting. Like, think about it. 4 out of 20. That is a quarter. No, that's a fifth. That's 20%. That is less than half. Right? So it's actually a minority of people that managed to become a real priest or whatever after the novitiate ends or whatever. That means that failing at that is the usual thing that happens. You have to rethink about it. Like, this is it's normal in this case, because normal by definition is a thing that happens more often, right? On the usual basis, more people don't make it. So for some reason, getting a mark for being a failure in this does not seem correct. Definitely kind of out of place here.
And do you want to know the biggest joke of it all? I didn't see it.
Yeah. Rose-colored glasses, right?
The idea that, I don't know, that he would listen to them. That he would ever reach a point where he'd put what we had below his hurt pride and his fears. It never crossed my mind.
So what happened?
Well, he knew I was curious by nature, so one night when we were in bed together, he suddenly asked me if I wanted to go on an adventure. Of course I said yes. So we snuck out into the cloister's courtyard. It was beautiful. The night was cloudless, and the old oak, our cloister shrine, had just begun to bloom. We made our way to the library building, but of course the door was locked. Out of nowhere, he pulled a key, grinning at me, and opened it. It was insane. As you can imagine, priests aren't known for being lenient towards these kinds of trespassings. We were risking our novitiate, and I didn't even know the reason, but I liked it. And we were doing it together, weren't we? It was exciting. He took my hand and we went to the High Priestess's office. We opened the door and went inside, and there he finally told me what we were here for. To open the grimoire.
What? Okay, what's that grimoire?
Grimoire?
The High Priestess's spellbook. It was a stupid idea. And if I hadn't been so blind, so bloody naive, I should have seen it by then. But I didn't.
What did he ask you to do?
To open it and try to read one of the spells. He teased me. Told me that I wouldn't be able to do it. You know, saying it like that. It sounds so bloody stupid, doesn't it? But again, I was too blind. I laughed. I wanted to impress him, so I gave him a kiss. Opened the page and started saying the words. Long story short, I lost control. The spell was too much for me to handle and it misfired. One moment I was staring at the pages, the next one, the library was aflame and my lover was gone.
Maybe read the description first. Jesus Christ, you don't just go willy-nilly. Yeah, let's pick this random ass spell out of a magical grimoire with probably overpowered spells that could change the course of whatever. Well, I'm actually not sorry. That's just stupid.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. I was the one too stupid to see it coming.
It's not being too stupid to see the whole relationship thing, kinda, to not see that, but, ugh.
How far did that fire spread?
Not far. It was put out before it could do real damage. But, of course, that was the end of novitiate. I was thrown into the cell of shame and sentenced to 12 years of polishing prayer banks and cleaning floors in the shrine.
Interesting. Did you try to tell them that all this had been a setup? Well, it probably was a setup, but still.
Did you try to tell the priestesses the whole story?
No, I just sat there and smiled. Of course I did. But my love had all his friends to back him up. To them, it wasn't even a trial. It was a feast.
Did you regret it?
Your lover, did he regret it?
I think so. The only bloody gratification I ever got from this. But even if he would have confessed and begged me to take him back, I couldn't have. All that connection, that trust, it was gone. Worse, it was tainted.
So you ran off?
But you never did polish those prayer banks, am I right?
No. In the night after the trial, they still let me sleep in my chamber. Thoughtlessness, I suppose, or maybe they simply didn't care. I got my things, left, and never came back. So, here it is, the whole truth. No dark secrets, no assassinations, no necromantic rituals. Just a plain old broken heart. Compared with all that shit you had to go through, it almost sounds ludicrous.
Yeah, pretty normal. Being betrayed by someone you trust hits the hardest. Maybe running shouldn't have been the only option. Well, both of those are pretty stupid. Like, come on. It hits the hardest. Yeah, it hits hard. Yes, it hits the hardest. Maybe running wouldn't have been the only option. But what other option would there be? Nah. It's kind of similar to the unknown island situation with the two brothers. Let's don't say
I
anything.
thought so. Well, sorry to have wasted your time, Corporal. I think we should both get some rest now.
What do you mean you
Corporal?
thought so?
Need anything?
What do you mean?
Goodbye.
That's stupid. Stupid ass emotional dialogue choices. Jesus Christ. So, let's check this one, connect it to the other one up
What do we
there.
need? Will do.
So, now what about that? Right click it.
She's breathing, but her spirit is gone. Damn you, Lacane.
That's it. You just right click once and that's it.
Now would you look at that?
That's almost not worth it at all. Whatever. Let's connect this one back to that portal up
next?
here. Not because we want to step through it, just because I like to have it prepared. Now, which one is it? Goes on the left side.
Tahar. Never mind.
Never mind what.
Something on your mind?
Well, maybe. Remember when you asked me about Rain? The other gifted shaman from my tribe.
Yeah? What about it?
I want to talk about it. I'm not supposed to, but I don't know. I trust you, Tahar, and I've kept silent about this for far too long. Zarek's fangs, this is so silly. I feel like a damn child.
Spit it out. Okay, but you don't have to.
I'm not forcing you.
Right. Where do I start? Before becoming a shaman, every disciple has to go through a trial. The Iron Trial, as it's called. I told you that I did most of my training in solitude, didn't I? That wasn't true. 5 years after I entered disciplehood, another orc was accepted by my elder. A female named Rain. She was 2 years younger than me.
Okay, and I thought orc shamans were all male.
I thought only male orcs can be gifted.
No, it's just that for female orcs, it's even rarer to have magic, which is why there are close to no female shamans.
How did you get along?
Well, at first, I was a complete dick to her. I was jealous and feared for my position. However, she never took offense by it. She fired back at me when I got childish, but at the same time never lowered herself to my level. As the years went by, we became friends. And no, there was no courting or mating involved, if that's what you're thinking. She was more like a sister to me, and one who, unlike my true kin, understood me. Those years in the Orcish steppes, they were special. We spent days, weeks out in the wild, doing whatever our elder tasked us with. And though it was hard, there was beauty in that.
Now, is it?
We just had this connection between us, this trust.
I think it's one writer that did all of the kind of background on all of those people. There seemed to be an awful lot of romantic-ish person-to-person connections that happen here. I think this is what drives those characters all the time. It's always something extremely personal. Okay, so sounds like a friendship.
Sounds like friendship to me.
Yeah, friendship. I never had a connection like that again, and I rarely talk about it. One time I did. The orc I told it to laughed right in my face. He thought it was ludicrous, a male spending time with a female who wasn't his mate. He stopped laughing when I broke his nose.
But something happened, am I right?
Yeah, the trial did. The sacred test every disciple has to take before he or she can become a shaman.
You can just say
set
they.
us both at the same time, which was unusual. But of course I was relieved. There was plenty of talk about the Iron Trial, and I was scared.
How did Rain feel about it?
How did Rain feel about it?
And also the name Iron Trial. Come on.
Same as I. Believe me, Tahar, only a fool would have entered into the trial with a smug smile on his face. We knew what was ahead of us.
And what did you know about the trial?
What did you know about the trial?
Rumors. Shamans are forbidden to talk about it. But it was known that only half of those who take it return at all.
So what happened?
So what happened?
Half of them who take it. So it's unusual for both of them to go in there, but somehow it's a trial of iron, so I think it's some battle-related thing. So they fight each other and the winner comes out alive. This is the only half of them survive. But if they're never put in there in pairs, then what?
Zarek's fangs. I can't believe I'm telling you this. I'm breaking my oath.
Okay. Don't do anything you would regret.
Don't do anything you'd regret later.
I won't. We weren't told much about the trial. Only that we'd have to venture to a cave, far up in Bargar Gore. They also didn't tell us how to get there. Only that Zarek would guide us. And he did. After a week of traveling, we found it. It was a strange place, Tahar. I saw that right from the beginning. The entrance looked like a mouth, the rocks surrounding it like the bones of an old forgotten beast, and the stalagmites like hundreds of teeth. But of course, we went in. We had to.
What did you find?
A giant hall. It was as mesmerizing as it was unsettling. There were murals and carvings all over the cave walls. Old glyphs that I'd never seen before.
Maybe some kind of glorious orc past or something? Shaper glyphs?
Shaper glyphs, maybe.
No, not Shaper. They looked as if the Guardians themselves had carved them into the rock.
Probably just one guardian.
Interesting. What else was there?
Nothing. That's what baffled me. Apart from those murals, the hall was completely empty. And for some reason, the ground in that hall was completely smooth, like polished stone. There were braziers, one in each corner of the hall, and they were burning brightly. Rain was as confused as I was. But nonetheless, we entered the hall. And that's when the trouble began. Because all of a sudden, the exit was gone. No magical noise, nothing. Just in that moment when we looked the wrong direction, it disappeared. And instead of it, we were looking at another wall.
How is that even
How
possible?
is that even possible? Maybe it was an illusion.
That was our first thought too, but it wasn't. That new wall was as solid as every other rock in that hall.
Strange. What did you do?
Well, after we calmed down a little, we assessed our situation. We figured that this was the Iron Trial, and that it was our task to find another exit. So we started looking. But it was pointless. There was nothing. We couldn't even hear the wind anymore.
Like an exit room without an exit, so it's just a room.
For the next 14 days, we were trapped. We couldn't make that wall disappear, and no matter how long we studied the glyphs, how long we prayed, nothing happened. On the 5th day, our provisions had come to an end, save for half a skin of water and a handful of jerky. On the 8th day, it was all gone.
Blazes. How did you survive?
Oh no.
I'm getting there. As you can imagine, the thirst was the worst. It drove us mad, and we searched every corner of that goddamn hall for just a drop of water. Not that we hadn't looked before, but as you know, hope dies last. Have you ever had thirst, Tahar? Real thirst?
No.
And hope it stays that way. I'd rather bleed out on a pole than experience that again. On the 11th day, Rain and I were puking our guts out. Our skin had literally started to crack, and I felt as if I was burning from within. On the 12th day, we were only an inch from death. That's when the dream came.
A dream?
Yes, a shared dream, almost like a vision. We were still in that hall, Rain and I, but we were out of our bodies, floating like spirits. At first I thought we had died, then I saw what was different. The floor was full of blood, and that blood was burning. The murals and glyphs had started moving, twisting, like shadows dancing on a wall. That's when I first understood what they were depicting. For some reason in the real world, I'd never been able to.
What did they depict?
It showed what was expected from us, what we had to do to get out. Sorry this isn't easy. I've dreamed about those weeks ever since. But telling someone, it feels bizarre. Zarek demanded a fight. Either one of us died by the hands of the other, or we would die there together. The Iron Trial. We were never both meant to pass.
Truth be told, that doesn't surprise me.
Truth be told, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and it shouldn't have surprised me either. But for some reason, I don't know. He had known Tahar, our elder, our master. He had known that it would come to this. Yet he still decided to send the two of us out at once.
So you fought each other?
No. Trial or not, I would have rather died than done that. And that's precisely what I told Rain. A god that demands a man to kill his own sister is not a god that deserves worship by anyone. But Rain wouldn't have it. She claimed that if both of us died, both of our lives would be wasted for nothing. I got angry and asked her if she meant that she wanted to fight me. She said no.
I don't understand.
She wanted me to kill her. She told me that she was already too weak to make it down the mountain anyway, but that I could still make it. Believe me, Tahar, if there had been any strength left in me, I would have punched her just for suggesting it.
Did you ever consider sacrificing yourself?
Did you ever consider sacrificing yourself?
No. I know it makes me sound like a coward, and maybe that was part of the reason why I didn't. But the sane part of my mind still believed that there had to be another way. That all this was just some cruel joke, and the cave we had found maybe wasn't Zarek's after all.
And yet, you're here.
I am. I should have known before she even did it. She always had to have it her way, no matter the price. It happened when I was asleep. She took my dagger from its sheath, put it into my hand, and drove it through her throat without hesitation. When I opened my eyes, her blood was already all over my face. And as if Zarek had been watching all along, the wall disappeared. No noise. Just like that. The wind was back, and it was raining outside. The first time in months. I'd like to think that she saw it before she died.
Did you make the descent?
I did. There were berries in a mountain goat that had been hit by a rock slide, right next to the exit. It was so absurd I almost had to laugh. When I got back to the Elder's shack, I screamed at him, then broke down and started to cry. He just listened. In the end, he told me that we had both known what had been at stake. Yet we agreed. Choice and consequence. He made me a shaman the next day.
That's absolutely cool.
That's cruel.
Maybe. But without cruelty, there isn't life. Don't you too send brothers and sisters into battle, Tahar? Children, fathers.
Yeah, it's the RTS element. So, okay, good. Stupid cruelty kind of thing. But I still try to do it diplomatically at first. Sadly. But the thing is, it says without cruelty there is no life, right? It's actually the other way around. Because cruelty is just the way you act. And life is what is. Two different things. You can just be nice and also live. But cruelty is, in this case, the... well, in this case, the fight for a precious resource most of the time. In this case, it's about the exit of the room. And only one can go, therefore you have to be cruel. That's the iffy bit.
You do it because ultimately, you believe the outcome will lead to a world more desirable. It was the same with Rain and me. We wanted to be shamans, Zarek's chosen, and we both paid the price.
Do you blame those yourself sometimes?
Do you blame yourself sometimes?
Probably not.
Of course I do.
Oh, no, he does.
But ultimately, it was her choice. And all I can do to honor her now is to respect it.
Which is also kind of a shitty thing. So...
I see.
There's one more thing.
Oh.
Remember when you asked me why I feel the way I do about our culture? Why I think we orcs should strive for more?
Because of exactly that.
It's Rain who made me realize that. Most orcs would have fought each other in that cave, to the death. But she didn't. Instead of submitting to her primal instincts, she made a sacrifice. One that I could have made too, if I hadn't been such a coward. Blazes, it feels strange to have told you all this. But, I don't regret it.
Well, thanks for trusting me with this, Gore.
Let me have some time for myself right now, all right? I need to think.
Interesting. And now we have the Tribe Eater. How many more are there to go? The World Within and Dark Corners of the Mind. Which of these are the ones? Bollocks. Dark Corners of the Mind is definitely Ianna. But World Within... Wait a minute. World. There we go. Empyrean Scholar, Undergast. Okay. So those two still need to get unlocked, but other than that, we pretty much got it. Oh, also, what about Anger? Anger also has a personal ability that we can unlock, but it takes a little while until we can. So, his dialogue is not about some personal background thingy, it's about the continuation of the main quest. So, in order to do this then, we are going to end this little episode and continue with him in the next one. Until then, like and subscribe. Ta-ta.